Two players not even on rosters at the start of June are hooping for the Indiana Fever right now, and Aari McDonald and Chloe Bibby. They helped them the big win over the Phoenix Mercury, and you'll hear from McDonald and more post-game, all coming today on the Fever Fridays version of Locked On Women's Basketball.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Happy August. We've made it to August. That's crazy. And welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball, the Friday version we are calling Fever Report, where I, Tony East, who have been covering the Fever at the IX since 2020, break down the latest in the happenings in the world of the Fever. Finally, my Lord, some consistency for the Fever. They've won 3 in a row. I made my case last week for why I thought consistency might be coming for the Fever, and I feel pretty good about that. Their offense looks very good right now. They just seem like they're flowing from possession to possession better. Regardless of who's on the floor, they're getting, good success. In this game against Phoenix, they had 2 kind of mediocre scoring quarters and scored 107 points. That game happened about 3 hours ago for me talking right now. We'll talk about that in the second segment and that game in general. I really want to talk about big picture. One, the case for expansion that the Fever are currently making, ironically, and 2, just how impressive something that's currently happening to the Fever is, and that is that they're getting steady, wonderful contributions from 2 players who were not even on teams on opening night. Aari McDonald may be the last cut for the Sparks, among the last cuts for the Sparks, however you want to kind of define their last waivers out of training camp this year. Not even on a team opening night, right? Good player, a former top-ish pick. Number 3, I believe, played for 2 different teams pretty well. Like, if you're a Fever fan listening, you know how good Aari McDonald is. She's balling. Chloe Bibby never could get into the W, right? She finished college in 2022. Got her start with the Valkyries this year. They couldn't keep her after Eurobasket. Like, these 2 players are struggling to hold WNBA jobs because of the size of the league. And that's like their talent is the reason. Like, they're on the fringe of the W because of the league's roster size compared to their talent level. But they're proving that expansion coming for the W can't happen soon enough. And I tweeted this during the Phoenix game today. Like, they are coming into the Fever and immediately, Mary's been around for like a month. Like, fans understand this. Chloe's been around. This is her second game. Immediately been good. Like, 2 of their better offensive players in this game against Phoenix. Chloe Bibby, who they signed 6 days ago. When this comes out, it'll be like 7 or 8 days ago. And I'll just make the case here. She can sign another 7-day contract. The Fever should absolutely do that and then get her on the team through the trade deadline. If they need to waive her to facilitate a trade, they could just do that and then sign her after. But she's making a case for a standard deal. It's only been 2 games. Drilling threes, 2 for 4 for deep against the Mercury. Was made threes against the Sky, hit her first 2 quickly. I think in that game she finished 2 for 3 from deep. 2 for 4 in that game, from deep as well. 8 points in her first game, 10 points, her second most as a pro, I believe, in that second game, plus 19, 5 free throw attempts in that game in that win over the Mercury. This player could not get on a roster. Like, it's crazy to me. She's so good. Stephanie White loves her stretch out ability, right? The fact that she gives them a new element as a stretch 4. Dantas is certainly more of a stretch 5. She also played pretty well against Phoenix, hit like a Dirk Nowitzki-esque fadeaway on her way to 12 points. And White is very clearly like, there's something about matchups or the way they're going to use ball screen coverage that makes her to figure out which big she wants to use in a particular game and how often she wants to go to Timpson versus Dantas versus Bibby. Well, Bibby might be the combo of all these players in a way that could lead her to play more in the future. We'll see. But she's made her case for sticking around. Certainly, there's no more games or practices between now and the end of her first 7 days. So Friday, they'll have to decide again. I would give Chloe Bibby another 7 days as the Fever. And then Aari McDonald, I mean, she's been good all season, right? 10-4 against Chicago. I keep bringing up that game because I was up there. And then dominant against Phoenix. 27 points on 7 made shots, 10 free throws. A lot of players had high free throw numbers in this game because there were so many whistles blown. It was gross. 38 free throws for the Fever, 26 for Phoenix. But Aari McDonald made 7 shots. That led the Fever in made shots. Only Alyssa Thomas in the whole game made more shots. And they were from everywhere, right? That's what stood out to me early in this game. She dots 2 threes early, but they're from different spots. That's when she told us, you'll hear this in the third segment, that she kind of realized, like, okay, I'm feeling it a bit tonight. Like, the rim looks a little bigger. I'm in a zone. Let's go. And it just continued the whole game. She made 4 twos, and a lot of that's getting to the paint, but she hit a little midi once in there. 3 threes, 10 free throws, 4 assists, and 2 steals. 27 points for Aari McDonald. Ridiculously good performance. She was fantastic. She got to 23 points very early in the third quarter. There were about 7 minutes left in the third quarter, about 17 minutes left in the game, which means 2 things. One, to that point in the game, Aari McDonald was scoring a point a minute. 23 points in 23 minutes to start the game. 2, her previous, before this game, career high in scoring was 23. So she evened it up with 17 minutes left in the game. And then she finishes with 27, some free throws late with the Fever. In the bonus, she was just spectacular. Chloe Bibby and Aari McDonald were all up there in the team's high-scoring duos. 37 combined points for them. Neither of them were on a team at various points this season. So first of all, huge help to the Fever that they could get these players. That some of their free agent signings have not worked out, I think, the way the Fever would hope. That's not the focus of this discussion. I'm only bringing that up to say, people have talked a lot about the failures of signings of this front office, and I understand why. In some cases, they've been marquee players. But Cunningham has proven to be a good addition. Howard has been great of late. And they have sniped Bibby and Aari as mid-season pickups. Their free agency track record is beginning to form in a positive way. Being able to find rotation players mid-season is hard to do. Every team would do it if they could. The Fever have successfully done so with these two. So first of all, that's worth pointing out. Sharp front office maneuvering to get real players that can help you with a hardship deal or your whatever limited amount of cap space you have at various times of the season. That's point one that matters about this. The Fever identified what they needed out of players and found someone available who could do exactly that. Thing 2 is, and I've been covering the W for a while, and there's a million cases made about why the W needs expansion and in what ways they need expansion. But a lot of players point to roster sizes and the number of actual spots in the league as a reason for it. And a lot of times they do that after the draft. And so the draft happens, and then a training camp happens, and then like with the Fever, for example, they waive Bree Hall, or like a first-round pick gets waived every other year because of a salary cap situation, right? And I get why it happens, but then fans get mad because they were attached to the player, or players get mad because players who are awesome in college don't make the league, and they're like, we need a bigger league. And I think they're right when they said it anyway, and the league was ready to grow probably in 2022, and now they're really ready to grow, and they actually are growing. They're going to have way more teams by the end of the decade. But the case for expansion is that Aari McDonald and Chloe Bibby aren't on teams. Clearly, really the Valkyries have already made the case. The Valkyries grabbed a whole new team via an expansion draft, picking some Euro players, right, and signing free agents, and they're already good, right? The fact that a team of players who were cast away by other teams, literally, in some cases, can be that good is already proof that, okay, the talent on the fringes of the league is still very good and competitive. If Chloe Bibby and Aari McDonald were the first 2 players that were on the Cleveland Rockers or the whatever, if it's going to be the Rockers, I don't think that's, I don't think they've confirmed their team name. The Portland Fire, they did, or the Tempo, right? They'd be thrilled. Those are useful rotation level players who are available right now, right? This is why this is sort of a Fever topic, because they're playing very well for the Fever, and I do want to give them a lot of praise for that. But this is why players always talk about expansion, both in the form of either new teams, right? The Fire will provide 12 new roster spots. The Tempo will provide 12 new roster spots, but also in the form of team size, right? Get it to 15. Allow these teams to have more players around to give them chances to develop, or to have the depth already in-house, so that more games like this can happen, where players like this who get their chance can play well and have more chances to play, and fans can be happy watching them. It's just a win-win. And so the size of an expansion of the league is good, and Chloe Bibby and Aari McDonald are proving it. And I had quite a bit of fun watching them do very well against a very good, very, very good Phoenix Mercury team that the Fever beat 107-101 on Wednesday night. I was there, and I want to talk about how they did it and what it signals about the Fever, who keep finding a way to get these wins. Before we talk Fever Mercury, we got to talk about Game Time. We've all been there. Logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show that you have been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That is where Game Time comes in. They take the stress out of buying concert tickets and make it faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. You can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of endlessly scrolling to find the best deal, Game Time's zone deals. Pick the best seats in a certain section for you. They have panoramic seat views for the venue. It was spot on when I went to see the Liberty play in the Barclays Center 2 years ago. And they also have a guarantee that the price is usually the price you pay. There's no hidden fees. The Game Time guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and so much more. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Back here on Locked On Women's Basketball. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen should be Locked On NBA for the latest around the men's world of NBA. And there's individual team shows. I host the Pacers one for every single NBA team to hear about the day-to-day operations going on there. Okay, the Pacers share an arena with the Fever. A former Pacer, Victor Oladipo, was at Fever Mercury, and the Fever won 107 points. I believe that was the third most in franchise history. Phoenix entered and exited still the game with the third best winning percentage in the league. They're one of only three teams who have won over 60% of their games this season, obviously. Minnesota and New York, who also played the same night, being the other two. The Fever have beaten Minnesota, albeit in a game that doesn't count in the standings. They beat New York, they beat Phoenix, they beat Seattle, they've beaten Atlanta, they've beat Vegas, they've beat Washington. They've beaten every team, right? There will obviously be teams that they are and are not favored against in a playoff series, given their track record this season. But this is what the Fever hoped they could be, right? High enough ceiling that they can show they can beat anyone. And if you give them the right series or they play well enough in that series, that they should feel good about their chances to advance. That's signal number one by beating Phoenix in their first chance to play them, is they can do this, right? It's not like Phoenix is any sort of banged up. The Fever are missing Caitlin freaking Clark, right? That it was a very sublime performance. And this kind of goes back to, by the way, McDonald and a lot of players. Boston was awesome in this game. But, last week I talked about the Fever winning games because of great play from Sophie Cunningham, who in this game had 12 points on 6 shot attempts. Natasha Howard had 6 and 6. Those two players have been leading them to wins. They've been finding ways to get more consistency from their role players, so their stars don't have to be sensational. Kelsey Mitchell played the fewest minutes of any starter in this win over the Mercury. She was 3 for 10. She was really bruised and banged up in that Sky game. And she only had 8 points and 5 fouls, right? Not her night. No problem. Sophie Cunningham was great. McDonald was great. Aaliyah Boston was a star. She was a monster with 22 and 12, and her fourth quarter was ridiculous. Howard was solid. Bibby was good. Dantas was good, right? Sydney Colson hit some huge shots in the first half. That's how you win. You don't need your stars to be stars. And that has been kind of a theme for the Fever of late. So one thing is, as they keep searching for consistency, they've won 3 in a row since the last one of these podcasts, and they've beaten some good teams in that mix. Beating Phoenix is certainly good. They are finding that consistency with the role players. That's kind of the theme I hoped you walked away with last week when we just really focused on the very recent play of Cunningham and of Howard, right? What they've done, what the stats say, how it's happening, how ridiculously good they'd been. They had just carried them to a win at the time I did that. Right now, it's other players, Chloe Bibby, Aari McDonald. Other players will have their day for this Fever team. They're built very well to do that. And they've kind of talked recently, especially with Caitlin out, about how their superpower kind of needs to be balanced, right? 11 shots for McDonald, 10 for Mitchell, 11 for Boston. And then you have a couple, you go down a peg, exactly 6 for Colson, exactly 6 for Dantas, exactly 6 for Cunningham, exactly 6 for Howard. 19 assists. I'm sure they'd like that number to be a smidge higher. But as they kind of figure out the flow and fluidity, right? That's something I keep asking about in postgame pressers. Where is this fluidity coming from? Because they've had games where they score like this season, but it either they hit a lot of threes or it's just like a passing fancy. And now they are hitting high scoring numbers. I mean, the 2 games in the interim since the last one of these, they scored 93 and 107, right? Their offense looks a lot better of late. And I keep saying role players, it sounds so harsh, but not the non-star Fever players are playing very well, and they're doing it much more often and more with higher frequency than they were earlier in the season. And that they just need one of Boston or Mitchell to be sensational, right? They beat the Sky, And I mean, not that Boston was bad in that game. She had a double-double, but like Mitchell was sensational. One of her best games ever. 35 points, 6 assists. She was balling. She could barely run at times, right? Boston had 17 in just the fourth quarter against Phoenix. That's what their stars are capable of. They can win games with just those two. When they get the role players to be also terrific, there they go. Look at the Fever go. So that's thing one that stands out about this win is on the Phoenix side, they're a team that's kind of all season prided themselves on like their top end talent's fantastic with Sabali, Copper, Thomas, but they always just get kind of one or two other players who really step up. And I guess that was Sammy Whitcomb, but nobody was really that damaging to the Fever of that non-star group. And Sabali wasn't very good at all. She had 9 points on 14 shots and really struggled in that game. So thing one is the defense on Sabali was good. I thought Lexi Hall, who in 23 minutes did not make a shot and had 2 points, but I thought Lexi Hall's defense, she fouled out late, was awesome. She was the only one really battling with Thomas and giving her any sort, like Thomas was still very good, but like giving her any sort of difficulty. 8 turnovers for Alyssa Thomas. She had some nice moments guarding all of the best players on Phoenix. Sabali, in part, struggling because of Hall. Copper was pretty good. And DeWanna Bonner, ex-Fever, goes 1 for 4. I'll just sneak this in now. She didn't really talk about her exit from the Fever postgame. She just wanted to talk about the game. And a lot of boos, if you didn't hear it, for DeWanna Bonner during the game. I thought it would happen at the start of the game and then be over. I understand totally Fever fans being passionate about a player just leaving their team midseason. That's very strange. She only played 9 games. I'm surprised she drew that much ire, but I'm not going to tell fans how to feel. If you don't like a person, boo them. Boos are harmless. Okay, anyway, so that was part of this, is good defense on Sabali and Lexi playing very well. But scoring 107 is just bananas, right? 35-point second quarter, 33-point fourth quarter for the Fever in this game. They were hooping on offense. And this goes back to what I mentioned just 2.5 minutes ago. The fluidity and flow and execution on offense is just way better of late, right? They want to be pace and space. Without Caitlin, they're finding a way to be pace and space. 24 of their 62 shots in this game were threes. Those sound like low total numbers. It's because there were a bajillion fouls in this basketball game, so your shot attempts are transferred to free throws. They just look better on the offensive end of late. Who knows if they can keep this alive? I think everybody is right to have hesitancy just because all season they've been unable to string together any sort of consistency, but they win 3 in a row. I believe they're 3 games over 500 for the first time this season. Jack Maloney at CBS, I think, had that this is the first time they've been 3 games over 500 since like 2015 or something crazy, right? Like actually a monumental time for the Fever in the wins. Yes, since 2015, 3 wins in a row. They're playing pretty well. And I think the offensive jump has been the biggest reason for that. And now the question is, the looking forward question, and that the Phoenix game kind of showed, like that was a wow win. You score 107 points, you get a wow. From me, and the way they do it without Mitchell and Boston both just tearing it up was very impressive. The question now for the Fever is how much of what they're doing right now with the consistency in the role players will translate to similar success when Caitlin Clark returns, right? And that's what I talked about last week with Cunningham and Howard, is like they're doing it in a way that is good. They need to keep doing it when Caitlin is back. And, you know, you just heard Leah Boston on the Post Moves podcast, her new thing, talking about like how much easier offense can be when Caitlin plays and all that kind of stuff, right? I think they can do it. And I think these players are figuring out how to play together. And outside of Clark, this has been like the team's healthiest stretch of the season. Now, obviously, that's danging with fake praise. They've been hurt all year, and Clark is still hurt. But, you know, I think that when she returns, I thought this last time, and then she returned and got hurt right away again. But I think when she returns, they'll have the highest baseline of successful things happening in a way that should make them very threatening with Clark on the floor as they move into the standings race, right? They are 1.5 games behind the 3rd seed, right? And I think the Fever, as I said, can beat anybody, but they'd have like a pretty good chance of winning in the first round if they're any seed 3 through 6 to me. Like they would be, you know, betting odds favored in maybe any series there. You don't want to play Minnesota or New York first, so you want to stay there. They're only a game and a half ahead of 8th, right? They're the same distance from 3rd and 8th. So the Fever need to keep playing how they're playing with this road trip coming up especially, but the offense was sublime against Phoenix. That was huge. And now you've heard enough from me. Let's hear from Aari McDonald, Leah Boston, and Stephanie White coming up next here on Locked On Women's Basketball. Back here on the Fever Report version of Locked On Women's Basketball on Friday. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. Your second listen, go listen to a different episode on this very feed. Lots of stuff here talking about Liberty Links. Every Saturday is a deep dive into an old prospect or something of that sort or nature. You've heard enough yapping from me here. is Aari McDonald and Aaliyah Boston. Post-game after the Mercury win, followed by head coach Stephanie White.
Aaliyah, we've asked you guys a lot about the offensive firepower you've had recently, 107 for the team tonight. What have you seen gone better for you guys, especially in these recent games on that end of the floor?
I think everyone scores the ball. How many do we have in double figures? 5. So I think just being able to move the ball and then everyone coming in and just hitting key shots at key moments. I think for us, it's once again finding who should shoot the ball and then everyone just being confident enough to take those shots.
Aari, career high 27 for you. When did you realize you had it kind of going tonight, and what kind of opened up for you? It felt like you were scoring kind of from basically everywhere.
When I seen those 2 threes go in, then I saw how easy it was, like getting into the paint. I'm like, okay, I'm converting. All right, I'm good. Like, let's keep being aggressive, or just keep taking what the defense is giving me.
Aari, you've come in from the jump and kind of fit seamlessly with this team. What's kind of been the key or keys for you to come in and be able to contribute like this right away?
I would say being a student of the game, always watching film, asking questions, and just knowing where my teammates, like the ball, and just, figuring out ways for them to be successful on the court.
Yeah. Aaliyah, 17 points in the fourth quarter after 5 in the first week. Just what changed in the fourth quarter, or what was your mindset kind of going into those final 10 minutes?
Honestly, all I can say is God is good. I just think the start of the game obviously was rough, me just missing some easy bunnies, but honestly, my teammates, they do a great job of kind of just staying in my ear and letting me know, you're good. But at the same time, even though I'm missing, you had Dee come in and hit some big buckets, Bibby come in and hit some big buckets. So, you can't really worry about the missed shots because I think everyone steps up when it's their time. And honestly, I think that just made everything better because once people start hitting shots from the outside, then everyone's up, everything's high end, and then you just go score.
Well, Aari, when we see you guys huddle up every time, it seems like Sophie's making a lot of noise in the huddle. What is she saying?
She
What kind of
just,
stuff is she saying?
it's all good information, just, making sure, okay, hey, what are we in offense? Our matchups defensively, I think she's a voice, the calm in the storm for us, and she's always, consistent in that area, just talking to us.
What was it like having DeWanna Bonner return to Indiana? What were your thoughts on the fan reception tonight?
Honestly, that got nothing to do with me. I think DB returned because we were playing Phoenix, and so that happened to be that. The fans just do what they wanted to do, but for us, it's about paying attention to what we have to do here, and that was coming in and getting a big win, which we were able to do.
Aari, back to you. Literally not being on a team opening night to now career high today, how have you kind of pushed through any self-doubt or negative emotion this season and continued to play at the level you have as a smirk comes through?
Staying in the gym.
Literally, though.
No, literally.
Not joking.
Just seeing me and my husband walk to the gym at night. But just honestly, standing in the gym and just staying confident. My teammates, they've been talking hey, keep shooting the coaches. And so I think tonight I really was okay, this is my time to shine. Everyone's, encouraging me. So it's just, I have to believe. And so, just staying in the gym, staying locked in, and just staying aggressive. That's been the key for me.
Aaliyah, for a while, stringing together wins is an issue, but now you've won 3 straight for the second time this season. What does it feel like in terms of you guys clicking? And like you were saying earlier, it doesn't matter who has a good quarter, whatever. Everybody is kind of stepping up as needed.
Yeah, that's super important for us, especially, the second half of the season now, thinking about, the season coming to an end, thinking about that playoff push. The biggest thing for us is being consistent. We've been saying that all year, and I think this is a good game for us because we went up against a great Mercury team that has hitters from all over the place, and they have AT running the show. And so for us, just making sure that if we can lock in and hone in defensively on a team that has as many shooters and spacers as they do, then honestly, that's just going to help us in the long run.
Steph, 107, is a big number. We've asked you a lot about offensive fluidity and the growth of that end of the floor, but what is just continuing to happen for you guys that this is now your bread and butter, you're winning with scoring every night?
Yeah, I think our movement with and without the basketball, we're playing baseline to baseline, really, and we're attacking, we're finding the right reads, making the right plays, and letting the ball find the right shot. There were, probably single-digit number of times where the ball stuck or we didn't move it. A lot of those early in the first, and then a couple in the fourth. But for the most part, the ball was really moving and popping, and we were taking care of it after that first quarter a lot better too, and that's important.
Chloe, Bibby, and Aari both not on the team to start the year, both in double figures today. What have you felt like you guys have done so well as a team to integrate players quickly and be able to have productive nights from them whenever you need it?
I mean, I don't know if it's so much us as it is them, and their ability to study the playbook and to really absorb it quickly. We try to limit what we run early when they're on the floor, when they're early in offense. But Aari's a point guard. She's got a point guard mentality. She came in knowing more than half of our offensive sets, and with Bibby, I mean, she's a stretch four and she's a shooter, and we haven't had that. And so when all else fails, just pick and pop. If something happens, just pick and pop. And she's a high IQ player. She understands, how to play, how to make plays. She's shot ready every time, and that's important. And it's also important that our passes are on time, on target to someone who's shot ready all the time. And I think we've been doing a better job with that.
To that point, a little bit more about Aari. I mean, how important has she been for you guys, especially with Caitlin having a couple of extended absences now?
She's been huge. Aari gives us another player who can get downhill. Her speed was on full display today. Another player who can handle the ball and take some pressure. It's hard to handle the ball 94 feet against extreme pressure. It just is. And Aari gives us a different dimension, a different look than Caitlin gives us. And Sid gives us yet a different look. And so the ability to have a player who can get downhill on days when Kelsey hadn't had very many days where she hadn't been able to make her way to the rim, but on days like today when there's one of them, you got another player who can create for herself and others.
Aaliyah had 5 points in the first 3 quarters and then 17 in the fourth, and she talked about staying confident throughout the entire game to have that kind of fourth quarter. Just how did the coaching staff encourage her when she was kind of struggling at the beginning to have that kind of explosion? I think the most important thing with AB is just recognizing that scoring is yes, it's a big part of what she does, but it's not the only thing. And continue to reiterate next play to her and continue to show her the value of the winning plays that she makes. I mean, she really is a secondary ball handler for us, initiating offense. She makes the right read and the right play 99% of the time. She gives us size and versatility on the defensive end, more versatility than you would think. And she had a tough matchup tonight with AT. And so, her ability to stay locked in to what was important, to know that her time was coming, to trust that. And I thought we did a better job in the second half of getting her touches in areas that she could be successful.
You talked a little bit about being happy for DeWanna Bonner finding a good spot for her. What was your overall thoughts on having her there in the reception tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about the reception. I don't hear anything once I'm out on the floor, but it's weird seeing her on the other side. But at the end of the day, basketball is basketball and relationships are relationships. And DB is one of my all-time favorites. She has been from afar for a long time, and then working with her for a number of years, she still is. And I care about DB as a person. And the business is the business, but the relationship is the most important thing. And so I'm happy that she found a good landing spot and a special spot where she started her career. So I'm happy for her.
Are you pretty pleased looking at the diversity of this scoring box score? I mean, you couldn't have counted on 27 from Aari before the game, and you got that, and you've had so many people step up at different times all throughout the game. That's got to be satisfying.
It is. I mean, almost 7 in double figures. I think we talk a lot about, we want to be a high assist percentage team. We want to be a well-balanced team. We know we look different without C on the floor, but we're very difficult to scout when we have this kind of balance, and I think it makes us dangerous. And every single player on our roster has gained experience throughout the course of this season, and when one player doesn't have it, another one does and steps up, and that's important. Our depth, while at times can be challenging, it's also one of our greatest strengths, and it pulls us through when we need it.
Much more insightful than how I could put it. I hope my questions were at least somewhat interesting to you in terms of the response they got from the coach and players. Next week, I might be unable to do one of these. I might have to delay it a few days because I will be traveling, but I hope you guys enjoyed this one. You can follow my work at The Next or the IX, covering the Fever. Again, I've been doing this for 5 years, and then every Friday right here on this very podcast feed. Thank you guys for tuning in today. You can find me on social media at Tony R. East. Hope you enjoy Locked On Women's Basketball. Back tomorrow with more in the land of women's sports. We'll see you then right here on Locked On Women's Basketball.